Here we go. All right, all right, all right. You're exactly right. I think like. All right. Welcome. Boom. Welcome. How y'all doing? Amy McCabe here, your Restoration Rebel leader. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for the 11th of September, 2018. Might be mildly appropriate that it's September 11th, and we're going to be talking about catastrophes. 2001 was a long time ago, but that was quite a catastrophe. But before we get into that, we're going to do the do. Here we go, Rebel commitments. In order to maintain clarity of purpose, we ask that every member of the Rebel community make the following commitments. Wow, that stuff is strong. Commitment number 1, I will protect the value of my services. I will never provide free services, as this would only serve to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. Commitment number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain our processes in detail to my client. I will never hide details and manipulate reports. I will never communicate with a third party without also communicating with my client. Who still does that? Shame on you if you do that. Commitment number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration professionals in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of that community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. Commitment number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, any client, any contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. Good business does not require us to give up money, sleep, or our humanity. What is up, people? Wow, this bang stuff is serious. Okay. Who is here for the first time? Brian here. It's every day is like new. Like he's like a dog. Oh, hi. You're home. Let's get Caleb Willis in the room here. And Mr. John Schumann. John, have you been on a Rebel Roundtable before? Have you been here before, John?
Yes, once.
Okay. All right. So you don't have to introduce yourself. But guess what?
I'm not John Schumann. I'm Michael Kaplan.
Oh, all right, Michael. What part of the country are you guys in?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. All right. Sounds like you're hiding from the kids. I'm going to go.
No, that wasn't my background, so I don't know.
Fair enough. All right. No new folks. That's good. Mark Tritter, let's get you in the room. So tonight we're going to talk about this thing called Florence, heading to the East Coast. Going to hit Thursday morning sometime. Probably going to be Category 4. Off chance it might be 5. We'll see. Clark, why don't you head us off here and get us going down the road. I don't have a whole lot of a CAT experience. I'm going to tell you all right now. Last year was the lion's share of my catastrophe experience and my hurricane experience with Irma and Harvey and the wildfires. So I'm going to hand this over to somebody with a little more experience. Mr. Clark Brown, go ahead.
Well, it might be short-lived because the bottom just fell out and started raining on me. So, I'll be on in 5 seconds. I'm going to run in the house.
Don't ruin your camera or your phone. Who here isn't Lindsay? Lindsay, you've got some experience. Tell us what to expect coming up this week and into the weekend.
Any question that you are not sure of the answer to, you're going to have to find. They're just like when you're brand new in the industry, every single day, every job you step onto, you're going to find something new you have never seen before.
Yeah, like chloroform, Joe Ledbetter. That wasn't on the list of dangerous shit you had in your buildings.
That's right. So you really have to be prepared and above and beyond everything, no matter what. Make sure your documentation is on point, no matter what.
Document.
Because when you get to the end of it and you have this bill, whether it's $5,000 or $1 million, that is going to be the only thing that's going to save you.
Yeah, and everything you do is going to get picked apart. It's not going to get picked apart right away. You might actually get paid right away, but there's an audit coming. Large loss means Audit Central. You have to have an audit-proof file, audit-proof documentation. If you can't prove that you did it, guess what? You didn't do it. You didn't do it. What's your, Lindsay, where have you done your cat work, or your cat duty?
Oh, all over the place. I've worked for a lot of large loss companies. So I've gone out as the restoration company. I've also gone out as the estimation team, dealing with the restoration companies that didn't do their documentation properly. So
that never happens.
So, when it comes down to it, whether somebody else is writing your estimate or you're having to argue it, no matter the case, you have to make sure that you have everything in order. And if that means that you need to pay somebody an extra 4 hours a day on overtime to make sure that everybody turned in their documentation and everything's ready to be submitted on a weekly basis, and then you just make the bill bigger as you go on, but you start on the weekly basis and you submit your billing weekly with all your documentation, and you tell your office people, listen, we might have 4 books this big, but it's got to be turned in by Monday morning at 9 a.m. every week, no matter what.
Rain or shine. Rain or shine.
That's right.
Stephen gets a good question. Stephen asks a question, who provides paper packets of documentation for new guys like me? Well, there's a lot you could do. First off, are you going? Are you deploying? Okay, you have an official invite, or what's your game plan, Stephen? Tell us a little bit about that so we can answer your question better.
Okay, so I've got a couple of already contacts, people that I know in the area of Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Couple of churches that I'm affiliated with.
And they're saying,
I've already contacted the pastors.
Come now, because we're going to need you. We don't know what we need you for, but come now.
Well, and I'm not going now.
Sure.
That's kind of something I'm trying to figure out. Wait till the waters recede. I mean, that's my plan. And go in and start extracting and start working with the people that have already contacted me, and hit up on some homeowners while I'm there. I'm not a big commercial loss guy, more residential. So that's kind of my niche, but I've got about 4 other Rebel restorers that are going to be in the same area that we've got contacts with. I've also reached out to a local Greenville contractor that's already in the area to see if I can work under him for anything that he needs support with, because I'm already going to be in the area. So he knows the area, he knows the people, he's got the name. I don't mind subbing, work underneath him and just working underneath the guy just to give him support, so he doesn't have to lose business, pass it up to the other guys because he doesn't have anybody to turn to. I tried to see if he was part of the Rebel group. He's not, but I reached out to him through PM today, so maybe he'll reach out to me tomorrow. But I've got a couple of churches that I'm affiliated with through people that I know as pastors that are in the area. So that's kind of my already inroad, but I don't know where else that's going to take me other than, I did this in Baton Rouge. It worked out pretty well for me. I just got my feet wet there, but now I'm looking to go big. I'm looking to my business partner's going to stay here. Daniel, he's going to stay here locally, run the show here while I'm there. So
good. Well, I think, what are you rocking now for your mitigation paperwork?
Right now, pen and paper.
Right, but are you using 24-hour tech? Are you using something you made up on your own? What are you doing?
I'm basically using a hybrid, sketching everything in Xactimate online, and then just using that as a template, but I'm just billing everything in QuickBooks. Okay,
well, you're not going to have the time or you don't want to have to stop and sketch these things.
And I really don't want to. I don't want to do any of the estimating. So I'm looking for resources. I'm looking for any inroads to say, hey, look, let's partner up. We can do all this legwork on this side. We can get you equipment on this side. You just put the boots on the ground and we'll get you done.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can stay with the pen and paper. You definitely can. You want timesheets. You want daily sheets. for every job. You want a sign in, sign out sheet for every job. And you want a requisition form of some kind so you can track how much material you've purchased and put on every single job. And then it's just it's time and material. It's the purest form of time and material. And Clark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you just back up your time and material documentation writes your invoice for you. So it's not an Xactimate function usually. You could back it into Xactimate, but usually it's whatever your contract says. You did time and material, and you do a markup according to your contract, and go. So if you want to, I would say you want to hire someone that can be kind of your clerk at the office to start compiling as you go. And you maybe have 4 crews going. I don't know how many crews you plan on having, but every crew has a lead, and that lead's main responsibility is to get all the paperwork back to the clerk every day. And then you start writing your invoices that way. Clark, you're back and you're dry. You're not raining inside.
Hey,
so.
Steven, I wanna give you a thought. Maybe something you can try if you're able to get any work with some of these churches. Look at the church administrative staff, right? So if the church has got a decent sized congregation, they're going to have 10 or 15 actual employees. 5 or 6 of those girls are going to be admin of some kind, right? They already use a computer. They already know the local area, things like that. Like, you can reach out to people like that and offer to pay them, because often they're displaced, not getting paid by their job, and they can work from home on a computer, organizing stuff, working on stuff, organizing receipts, things like that, doing admin work, and for pennies on the dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a good scenario. So think of the resources that every single job you do has, and then cannibalize those resources to make your loss more efficient, cost effective, and ultimately show a customer a savings through like value engineering, right? Like, I'm not going to go rent 9 high-lows from Sunbelt on a large loss when the customer's got 6 of them sitting in front of me.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. Like, right? So look at your jobs and look at what resources you can pull from your actual jobs to make your jobs efficient, no matter how big the job is.
Yeah. Brian, what's this? Uh-oh. All right. That was weird. What's this FEMA W13025A? That's like a lot of numbers.
That's the guidelines, I think FEMA drew up in 1992 that guides how they pay. So just the base thing, if you're not going to document, if you're not going to say how many DHUs, you're not going to monitor whatever, they're only going to pay like 3 days, and it's going to be $7 per square foot. They don't care what you do.
Flat rate.
They're not going to allow for traders, supplemental power, whatever. But if you do document everything just like a regular loss, if you can find a way to do it, they'll pay for everything.
Okay.
I
Good.
learned that down here in Harvey.
Good to know. Thanks, Brian. All right, Clark.
Right. So,
we had some weird
guys,
feedback, but go ahead, Joe.
Real quick, so documentation, we talk about this all the time. And for everyone listening and watching this that's going to see this, everyone documents their own process. Some people are iPad, some people are pen and paper, some are a combination. But here's the reality. There's one thing that all of you can do that requires none of that, and that's just take a picture, right? Like, I'm not going to get on the company cam train right now, but I'm telling you right now, like, I'm going to go do CAT, and I'm going to use my freaking phone and take a picture of transparency.
Yes.
My attempt on this CAT is to actually turn in a full bill, photographic, time, date, stamped, geotagged, complete, a photo bill. Like, I'm going to attempt that on this CAT because that's the reality of transparency. So just think about that. Like, take pictures of everything that you do. I promise you still won't take enough.
Yeah, you won't. All right, Sean, raising his hand so politely. Look, just such a good boy, Sean. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, be aware on that NFIP guidelines. It's not a guideline. If you read it, it's pushed as that by every adjuster I ever come across. But if you read it, it is a memorandum. It is an internal memorandum. And it clearly states in there it's not a how-to nor a drawing guide whatsoever. It was for internal use, but they push it as a guideline. So, and there are multiple methods, like their calculation on equipment. If you push back on that, you know what you're talking about. You will get no pushback on it whatsoever. You know.
Perfect. How much flood work or how much CAT work have you done, Sean?
Oh, I've done a lot. Probably first with Katrina Rita, and just about everyone since then.
All right. That's why we're here, man. We have so much knowledge in this room. It's unbelievable. All right, Clark, I'm going to try one more time with some weird feedback coming. Maybe you might have to put a headset
from my end.
Yeah, I can hear us coming through yours and back into yours.
We're good now, though?
I think so. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks for waiting. Yeah, we got real granular. I think we got into the billing, but I've been getting calls and texts, and I'm sure many have all day of, should I leave home base? And we did this with Harvey. We had the same type of roundtable, as a matter of fact, and it was a good meeting. It was worth it. I don't know that we changed anybody's mind. I don't know if we saved anybody any money, and I don't know if we made anybody any money. We didn't get feedback, but I do know that after Harvey, after a lot of people started talking about their experiences, they chose not to go, and they doubled their business in their backyard. And I want to tell everybody that is a potential, depending on where you live, and if you market it that way. If you aren't sure whether you should go, if you're nervous about going to the cat, I would tell you probably shouldn't. I think it takes a certain bit of grit. What's up, Joe? It takes a certain bit of moxie, grit, courage, because you're going to be looking at how much money you're going to be spending and throwing out. I did hear something a while ago. I don't have experience with using Xactimate in the cat. And from what I hear about it, I would probably say don't try, because if you think the prices are bad on your everyday time, imagine in a cat when nobody's going to do any work for what cat, Xactimate says you can. So you're going to get a lot of pushback trying to push a custom price list in a cat for the first time only. But I just really wanted to talk to a lot of people about what they don't realize is it's not like a normal go down the street. Home Depot's got everything you need. Your Sunbelt, your United, your Neff, those guys are out. And I'll tell you right now that the big boys have already put millions of dollars on standby. And when I say standby, they're already paying a piece of the ticket or full price just to say they've got it first. So if you get there and you aren't bringing something with you from Ohio, you might need to rethink that. But storms are all about access and resources. And then more specifically, I had one very, very specific call with the guy today. And I know North Carolina like the back of my hand. I've probably done this same storm 40 times. I've gone up there. Everybody's really, really chomping at the bit and watching. But I'll tell you what, North Carolina, if it's 30 or 40 miles one way or the other, it's a swamp and a tobacco field. Yes, there'll be a lot of localized flooding. And if you want to do FEMA work, there will be that there. But North Carolina is one of those states where they check out where you're from. They smell out-of-towners showing up. They do their homework. They put their guard up a whole lot. So I always recommend, if you know anybody in North Carolina to attach yourself to, or whatever state you're going to, if that's an option. And I think Stephen was found some contacts in North Carolina. That will help you. And a lot of times in your first storm, in your first cat. Now, this is all just my experience. My experiences are a lot different than a lot of people's. But your very first time or even your second time going, you might be paired up with somebody else. You may even be a sub, but it's not like a normal sub. You'll make really good margins if you work a good deal. But until you have contacts, until you have property managers or brokers that really, really, really believe in you and are willing to put their name on their line for you, they're not going to walk you into some big losses. Those are just the things I say. I don't want to talk anybody out of going, but I sure want to say if your stomach is in knots, whether you should or shouldn't, you should probably shouldn't, or if you do, go send one person ahead, try to land some jobs, and then bring in the cavalry. But don't send everybody, because you'll go and sit in the hotel for 3 or 4 days before they even open up the areas from evacuations. That's it in a nutshell. Some people have a whole lot of success, and I think those kinds of people are the type that always have success in everything they do. They fall backwards into good luck. I think people have a whole lot of charisma and can talk. Yeah, Lindsay says her. Some people can go to a cat with 0 sold and walk away with $800,000-$900,000. Some go that are incredible operators that, and this, I want to be real careful saying this. Sometimes you got to bend the rules a little bit in the cat. Sometimes you got to be a little less clean than you sometimes are. And you can ask me later what that means, and I'll tell you privately. But you better have your documentation in hand, your contracts with subs and with primaries in hand. You better have your documentation, because I know people that are still waiting to get paid from Matthew, which was, somebody help me, 13, 14, and Baton Rouge. Still waiting. Oh yeah, this business had a lot of money. Well, they didn't give it to the contractor. So that's all. I want everybody to do really, really well. Actually, I just saw a few minutes ago, it kind of slowed down a little bit, and it might not come in as more than a 3 or 3.5. So that's it. But I mean, we don't have enough time to talk about everything about a cat, but just, you're not going to realize how hard it is to get your hands on a lot of things, including water, ice, shelter, sleeping. You'll end up driving 2 hours away and, commuting every night.
Yeah. So find a local contact, get invited.
Sure.
Bring everything you need with you. Have a game plan how you're going to document it before you have to document it. And it's about getting the job done, not necessarily following all the rules to the T, because it's a war zone, and you just get it done. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I actually, I think everything Clark said is 100% on point, right? Not even a variation, but I want to talk you out of it. So here, it's really simple to me, right? Like if you just asked yourself, should I go or shouldn't you go? Like 4 days ago when this shit made the news, like the answer is no. Like you're not even in the right place. So don't even think about going. Just stop that action right now. Like I want you to just save yourself, stay in your market, and keep doing what you're doing. If you've been thinking about going on cat work for the past 6 months, 8 months, a year, you put some planning time against it. You figured out how your office is going to operate. You've kind of put some idea on who might come. Like then you're the person. Like I don't want to discourage you, but if you just learned about this in the national news like a week ago, then the answer stay home. Now there's a million things, right, that we could get into and talk about like from a really high level, but the bullet point stuff that you just got to pay attention to are resources. So like cat work is 50% logistics. It's not mitigation. It's not like demo, right? It's not extraction. It's not antimicrobial. Like those things are small. It's logistics, right? And relationships over years help your logistics get a lot easier. But to Clark's point, the big guys, right? I'm not going to name names, but I will tell you definitively, I've been on phone calls recently in the past 24 hours where I know very large national companies are putting down 7-figure deposits with rental companies saying, I want first right of refusal on, 50 generators, 200,000 CFM, like real stuff. So if you have resources and you're going to go, like whenever we mobilize, we always like to bring at least like a 350 kVA from our own marketplace, right? Like a big gen set, something that we can give a lot of power to really quickly, right? Because power is key, like in the first 3 or 4 days. You'd be amazed at like the kind of work you can get if you have a generator. Like no joke, it's such a simple buy-in, right? You go to the power. It's out of power, right? You say, well, we'll hook it up. Like we'll give you guys power right now. You will? Yeah, no charge. Listen, we're here to help. At some point we can talk about what we can do for you, but let's get you some emergency services. Sweet. Dude, game over. Shut up, right? Really? So bring something.
Yes.
Right? Just bring something and figure out how you can put it into play and put it into use. Now, with that, though, I will caution you. I've been in an experience where I took everything. Listen, I took the damn kitchen sink, literally, right? Like we took everything. And what I will tell you is that does not work. That really does not work because you lose efficiencies. You're tripping over, $100 bills to pick up pennies in that mindset. So there's certain things you have to do. But here's 3 simple things that anybody going out of town, I don't care if you have 5 guys or 50 guys, your simple amenities. Find a local dry cleaner that'll clean your clothes regularly. They'll come to you and pick them up, or you can drop them off, so you don't have to mess around with it.
Dude, when I was in Austin, they had this service, and they would. I'm gonna mute Clark.
That
Nope.
stuff is phenomenal. Like, so you can take care of your resources, like some amenities, make your days go a lot better. The other thing is food. If you're lucky enough to have a large enough crew, find a local catering company and have your food catered in. It'll save you money, save you time, give you a better quality food when there's no other food, right? So that's really, really important. And then, you know, this is my personal opinion. You guys do whatever you want to do in your own lives, but I will tell you right now, I would have a policy on drugs and alcohol after hour use on CAT with your employees and stuff. And I don't care what part of the country you're from, but
It's got to be dry.
those things create problems
Yeah.
on the job site.
I was going to talk about that too.
You know, like, so just be aware of some of those fundamental things, right? If you go out there with the right intent to build the right relationships and service the right people and have the right contracts and do the right things, I'm not telling you that you're going to get 100% return, but your chances of getting back is a lot better, right? So no matter what, this is a gamble. I don't care if you tell me you got jobs lined up all the way to Sunday. This is always a gamble, right? You just never know, right? So just understand that and document everything, guys. I mean, dude, document until you think you can't document anymore.
Perfect.
Hey, let me piggyback off that, Joe. You mentioned something that I'm always very hypersensitive about. Is that's your crew. You may bring 3, 5, 10 guys from your home base, and they may be studs at home. But let me promise you, and I know Lindsay's going to chime in, and I know, Joe, you know about this. Your guys, after 8 days, 10 days on a CAT, you'll find out who's real and who's not, right? So you're going to see burnout from people you didn't think you would, and then you'll see people rise to the occasion that you didn't think would. So be very, very clear and talk to everybody, and don't lose the good guys, especially if you've got work lined up. Yeah, late days 8 to 21. Hey, guys, I got a funny story. So I never wore a watch that had the days of the week ever until I started doing CAT work. Then you start forgetting that Saturdays and Sundays you don't call home, you miss the kids' birthdays or whatever. So it's real because you're working a month straight, 7 days, 12-hour days. But your crew, I mean, we can get tired, we can shut down, we can probably get by with it. But if you miss 3 or 4 of your studs that are supposed to be standing that job up, make sure you get a rotation, make a promise of rotation, and have a plan for that. I can't tell you enough. And then again, what we're saying about resources, just lunch and water and fuel and restocking your tools, theft. I will tell you that's something that everyone, and Joe, you probably know this, your shit's going to get stolen.
Yes.
If you do not lock your stuff down, it will absolutely come up missing. I'm talking, you can go in and get your paperwork and come back out and your stuff's gone. So that's
big
something.
stuff too. Listen, big
That's
stuff.
for real. Big stuff.
People will pick up and just hook up to a trailer and
Trailers.
go.
Exactly.
The cops don't care. Nobody cares. Like,
Nobody cares.
that's theirs. Have a nice day.
I've had so much stuff walk off a job site. Not even CAT. We're not. Man, I get some nasty feedback. I think it's Joe. Yeah, it was Joe. See, Joe, I muted you. Sorry. Here you go. I'm turning back on. Here you go. Yeah. Ooh, nasty. What is that?
I don't know.
Oh, I got it back in. I muted you. Maybe call back in. Call back in a second. If you have to. I've had so much walk off.
Let's hear from some other people. I know Lindsay's been on
Go ahead.
Lindsay or Sean. I know Sean's done a lot of CAT, and who else has done some CAT? Who else can tell us? Danny. Oh, there's John Grubb. I know he's a CAT. He's like a lion. But Danny John's done it. I talked to Danny today. He's heading down. So, Danny, what do you say?
I mean, it's always a crapshoot. I go expecting nothing. Anything I get and reap as a reward, then I look at that as a profit, obviously. I personally go myself. I got my semis headed down there now. I'm about to grab my trailer right now. And then I lock and secure the jobs. And then once I get the jobs, I bring reinforcements down from there. I mean, my crews are on standby, ready to go, and willing to participate at any moment's notice. And they know that they got a 16-hour drive. And as soon as they get done with that drive, they're hitting the clock and getting game face on and getting to work.
How far are you, Danny?
What's that?
How far are you from Carolinas?
Primary office is about 14 hours away. So, I mean, resources is another big thing. Resources, obviously, I believe I have pretty good resources. I mean, I was able to operate effectively out in Harvey where things weren't able to get around. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of the big guys secured things even though they didn't necessarily have it on jobs just to make sure the little guys couldn't get stuff. And thank God I was able to pull in some phone calls and pull some strings to get some resources, some large equipment to facilitate jobs. I think I run enough of that stuff throughout the year to be able to have those connections, to be able to get it. Been in the industry long enough to know what rocks to find them under.
That's a lot of it, isn't it, Danny? Having a Rolodex is a big part of it in the cat. You there, Danny?
Well,
yeah,
I
Lindsay.
I agree, definitely.
Lindsay had a good point, and that's something nobody talks about is cash flow, having enough to cover your expenses. Because if you get on a job and you've got 30, 40 temps, those guys start wanting to be paid in 7 days, and that's a number that starts to really, really, really stack up hard. So making sure you've got cash flow, or just don't take jobs that you can't swallow. They come across, because jobs will come at you. Somebody say, hey, can you handle this whole food line? Sure, but can you finance it? And that's a good one to team up with somebody on.
Yeah, it's going to be a function of once you get a job and you show a presence somewhere, you're going to get another job. It's just going to be, if you can show you can man it up and put proper amount of equipment on it, you're going to get the next job. But that could snowball real quick on you as well. Who's got experience on that aspect of it, getting that first job, that anchor job, and then letting it roll from there?
I mean, Harvey, I definitely experienced and learned to play my purse strings a little bit better this time because, I cash flowed the job for 9 months. That was brutal. It almost put me under. But, obviously once I reaped the paycheck, it was a little more comforting, you know what I mean, to get the bills paid and everything else. But it was tough.
Hey, Steven's got a couple questions there. Steven's like, go now, go after storm, go when you have guaranteed work. My opinion, I would wait till the day after or start driving. If you're hell bent on going, start driving now and stop in Memphis or Atlanta or something like that. But there's going to be evacuation order in place. There's going to be places you can't get into. I know a lot of people had that problem in Maryland this year with Ellicott City. You couldn't get in there for days and unless you knew somebody, and we had some rebels that were locked in and they got all the work. But I would certainly say go. I would wait till Friday, Saturday myself, because if they're going to sign up the first job, they already have, and that's the guys that we're talking about with Danny and me and Joe. And many of these guys have relationships with national chains and brokers, and the minute somebody finds out their places of businesses are jacked up, they're already getting a phone call. But now residential, people can't get it back into their houses maybe till, if this thing hits on Friday, maybe they won't get back in until Sunday or Monday and make some decisions and try to start scratching their head and calling, seeing what their coverages are, even getting somebody from insurance to answer the phone. So I think you're okay waiting until this weekend, Steven.
Yeah, and here's something too to think about so you guys understand, like the Outer Banks, right, that go north to south all the way down the Carolinas. There's 6 bridges that get onto that about 120-mile stretch, only 6 access bridges. So it's very common that these kinds of winds are going to disrupt the soil along with the storm surge. There are actually most likely to be a lot of gas line breaks. So they won't even let people most likely onto that Outer Banks, that entire stretch of really awesome, high-end, really valuable mitigation property for probably like 7 to 8 days. Like that's what we saw in Sandy, right? You couldn't get out to LBI in New Jersey. You couldn't get out there for at least 6-7 days after, like really get out there. So there's going to be a lot of restricted access. There often is if the storm is worth it, right? So if you can get everywhere day one, guess what? The storm wasn't worth it. Just FYI. Like that's a sign to go home within the first 24 hours.
That's true. I will tell you this. So if you are deciding to go, and Steven and anybody else, and you are successful, you're going to learn so much. I mean, you're going to come back a different person. But I want to tell everybody, the stuff that we talk about for the FNOL and for the ratings and the not the ratings, the reviews and stuff, nobody's looking probably at your reviews back home, and they're not going to you're not going to stick a review in their face. It's going to this is going to be a high-speed, low-drag thing, get in, get out. I just want everybody to know this is going to be a different feel than you working in your backyard. I mean, you can still do some good and bring the humanitarian side with it, but everybody's just wanting to get back open and get their life back to normal really quick. But it's a good experience for those that go and have success. It sometimes changes their company, especially not only with the inflow of cash flow, the cash flow, but just with their team's ability to step up. You buy some new equipment, you figure out what works, you see what other people are doing on a big scale, and it kind of helps you come back. Plus, get a couple of big cats on your belt, bring that back and put that in your marketing. Sometimes that'll open up new doors in your backyard.
For sure. Hey, Lindsay, you were raising your actual hand, not your virtual hand, so nicely there. What's up?
I couldn't find the actual one. I mean, the virtual one. Anyway, so something else to keep in mind here. I went to Myrtle Beach specifically during Hurricane Matthew, and I had 5 or so very large projects there. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you something to keep in mind here is that they not only have damage from this hurricane, but they have damage that everybody else did not remediate correctly every other time. So you have damage going all the way back until, the 60s or prior when this stuff was built that has been hit year after year after year. And in addition to all that has all the salt, so that degrades it more. And this stuff is going to be bad. Because I had stuff 2 years ago that we were fighting from like 1975 from a hurricane that hit.
No kidding.
And so now you have to take into consideration, now you're going to have that to fight for as well. So not only are you going to have this damage that's now occurring, but you're going to have to fight for what happened 20 years ago that never got remediated appropriately in the first place.
Interesting. Interesting.
John, that's a really great point, Lindsay. Like pre-existing issues from last storms, that's a great point.
John, you got something to add to that?
Not to add to it.
Oh.
I just wanted to get it out there before I forgot. One thing that I noticed during Harvey and Irma, and so let's say you are en route, and it's the day the hurricane makes landfall. You can follow this stuff in real time on Twitter. People will start hashtagging photos and video of the storm as it makes landfall. During Harvey, especially, and a little bit in Irma, but especially Harvey, because I had several clients responding from out of state. Between basically Twitter and Instagram, I was able to, from Idaho, pinpoint some really good areas to, send my guys to.
So for prospecting.
Correct. And this assumes, first, as far as digital advertising, don't even think about it. You'll blow a ton of money. Consumers
just
are
on
savvy
clicks for no good reason. Yes.
Consumers are savvy enough to know that you're an out-of-state company, unless you've got time to, to build separate landing pages on your site or have your web developer do it. I wouldn't even bother with it. What's important is get boots on the ground and start knocking on doors. That's what's going to get you business. But in determining exactly where to go, and Joe's right about the bridges and the islands and the Outer Banks. I was looking today that Topsail Island, which is just northeast of Wilmington, I used to vacation there as a kid, and you get winds over 30, 40 miles an hour. The power's going out on the island. They'll shut bridges down. I've personally been trapped on that island during a storm. So Twitter is a great resource. Just search for the hashtag is probably Florence or Hurricane Florence. And folks are going to be, honestly, before they're even making a phone call for help, people are documenting this on social media. So
have we forgotten about the other ocean?
Yeah,
is anyone watching this storm?
So on that point, Jonathan, right? So anybody who's going to this event, I strongly encourage you to go onto Facebook. I went on personally and found every single fire department, police department, church, school district, fill in the blank rec community center, right? Anything community driven, opera houses, etc., and liked all their Facebook pages. All of them, all the way up and down the coast just in the past 7-8 hours. And so that I start seeing exactly what they're talking about. they're going to be able to pinpoint, talk about, describe, explain meetings, town hall meetings, road closures. I mean, the information available to you through these feeds are awesome. And here's the best part. After you leave this event, you go home and you stop looking at their shit on Facebook because of the algorithm, their shit goes away. So don't be afraid to like a bunch of stuff and follow it for the next couple of days. But social media, if you're not following the storm of social media, then the storm's like, it's gone.
This thing's looking
One
nasty.
thing I noticed too, during Harvey, I started following a bunch of local newspaper, blog, local TV folks, radio folks. They were going out and putting themselves completely at risk to get the big story. So I immediately started following a bunch of those folks and would tweet questions at them and again trying to find what are the best areas, and then I would take that data of, okay, I know this area is flooded, and then I'd go on Zillow and look at median home price, maybe look at city data and get some demographic issue or information and income information. And then from that's where I pinpointed, okay, I think this place, and in Harvey, it was Kingwood. That was a good spot for guys to be in. And I didn't know that because I haven't been to the area in over a decade. But between social media and just kind of following the news, it was a really easy way of tracking that. One other thing, and then I'll shut up. The University of North Carolina has a really, really good free tool that will show you flood areas based on elevation and known river, stream, lake levels. If you Google like UNC flood map, you should be able to pull it up. That's incredibly helpful to determine as the storm moves inland and those streams and rivers rise. It's a really good way of determining what's actually flooded and what's not.
Nice. You want to put that in the group when you can think about it? All right, perfect.
Hey guys, and I want to highlight what you just said. And if anybody has this storm is different than it was 10 years ago. You have this social media has changed everything, but just what John was talking about. If you've got somebody back home, even your kid, start checking that Zillow. Start doing the homework. You didn't always have that access to that kind of real-time information. If you want to go after high-end homes, you can start looking at that with heat maps on Zillow and stuff. So there are ways to hack this, but I have a really, really, really cheesy way to get past, and I want to be very careful in talking about this, but if you're running into areas, there's going to be a lot of places where you can't get into because of and the lines are down. So all the service trucks, all the Duke Energy is the big energy company out in North Carolina. Go to Radio Shack now, tomorrow, or Granger, and buy a socket, a lighter plug-in flashing light at the top of your truck. Don't pretend to be law enforcement. Don't pretend to be somebody you're not. Just have a light up there and tell people you're an emergency worker, and you will open doors that you just don't even know how you got into. So have that on your dash. Have it on the top. Don't put it on the top if you're going to go in and eat somewhere. People will steal it. Like I told you, they'll steal your shit. I'm not kidding. They steal your shit. Ask me how I know. Tell me from but go buy these for your cruise trucks, and you will be surprised at how many gates they just say, yeah, come on through, because they're looking for people that can help them get back into work, into service, into operation in some way. And they don't want looky-loos. They don't want tire kickers that are wanting to drive by and take pictures and put it on Twitter. They want people to come in and do actual work. So, But again, don't pretend to be somebody. Don't pretend to be law enforcement. Don't pretend to be FEMA. That'll get you in some real hot weather.
But look serious. Look serious. Yeah. Look like you're there to do work.
I've been tempted to buy one of those electric trucks in auction, right? And keep it all nice and white. Put like ABC Electric Company on there and just roll around. Listen, no one's stopping those trucks. They don't give a shit. They're like, come on, whatever, let's go on every cat. Like, I've always wanted to just buy one. Like, you can just roll through everything.
Oh, you got a big old ladder on top with a couple lights? Yes, you're in.
Dude, don't stop. Don't stop.
Love it.
Good stuff. Anybody else have anything?
Jeremy Newman was late to the party. You got something to add to the conversation, Jeremy? Love you, man. Just kidding you. Just busting you a little bit.
Well, there will be a bunch of us down there. So we Go ahead, Joe.
Something that's really important lesson. I learned this lesson in Hurricane Irene, and it cost a lot of money after the fact, like a lot. Call your insurance broker, whoever's got your business insured for your workman's comp, your liability, your vehicles, everything, right? Like, just call your broker and say, can I look at my policy? Can I go to this state and do work? Will I be insured? So a lot of us as mitigation contractors, we have interesting policies that back up our businesses. And not to give them a plug, but I use American Risk, right? AMAR, and those guys put together some phenomenal policies. And, we've had these questions with them, right? And they made sure that we have the right endorsements to work in the right places so that we don't have additional liabilities. I'm not talking about licensures in order to work in a place. I'm talking about your own insurance company covering you when Timmy gets hurt on the job site that you're in another state and you actually don't have that coverage. Make a simple phone call.
For sure. Absolutely. Looks like Sean Connor's trying to push the unmute button. I'm going to help you out there. There you go.
Yeah, Joe, if you suggested AR, or what is it, AMR armor, Derek over there, if you need
AMAR, yep.
Good guy.
Yeah, those guys deliver a solid product, that's for sure.
They know their stuff.
Good. Nice. Sorry, Jeremy, you got stepped on a couple times. You got something to say?
Yeah, man, totally disrespected.
We're just bastards here. You knew that, though.
No, I just got home 2 weeks ago from Harvey, so I have no desire to go anywhere. I might go down there and just sell a bunch of big jobs and give it to somebody else and come back home because I have no desire to. I'm just tired.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple people in the room here to volunteer to take those off your hands.
I seriously might do that.
Well, that way you're in and out, right? I love it. Good plan. Good plan.
Andy.
Yes, sir.
Are you in any desire to come over and write some stuff, or can you do everything from where you are?
Both.
Okay.
Yes, and both. And Lindsay. Look at Lindsay. Me too.
Well, you see where I'm sitting.
We have the resources. Well, why don't you just pull the trailer over there and we'll bunk up. But man, you got to do something about. All right, I'm going to share a little bit. There's very few people in the world that take snoring and make it a full contact sport, and that man right there snores. I mean, it's like a physical assault sleeping next to this man. But
well, you've never.
I'll bring better earplugs.
Never slept next to me, Andy.
I can't imagine.
I'll play Anthrax on the surround sound so you won't hear it.
Sounds like an invite, Andy.
Yeah, Andy, listen, you're gonna come write paper. Listen, we're gonna do everything in time and materials, right?
Yes.
Like Greg Dillon's gonna do all the clerk of the works, right? But at the end of the day, we still want an Xactimate platform. We still want to be able to use that square footage and those measurements and all those beautiful things that Xactimate does for us. And I love to cost compare against time and materials. Like, there's nothing better than to be able to just create the data on the real loss that you just did and say, wow, look at what works, look what doesn't work.
Right.
Like, we've been able to get to a square foot estimating process on CAT because we take all the data from every job, time, materials, Xactimate. We say, okay, listen, you a foot of water, it's 19 a square foot, it's X a square foot, so much services, blah, 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 blah. So, like, you're going to come right. You're going to come right all the stuff. I mean, let's just make sure this thing makes landfall, though, right? Like,
oh, it's gonna.
Hey, Joe, did you talk to Greg, Joe?
Who?
Have you talked to Joe? I mean, Greg?
Today?
Yeah.
No, like 2 days ago.
Okay,
Good. Well, let's wrap it up. Feel free to continue this conversation in the group. If we want to, I'm going to open up the resource. If you have a group of folks, 3 or 4 folks that need to get together and make a video, you have a video conference, let me facilitate that for you. I'll give you the Zoom stuff, and you guys, if you want to coordinate, if you're going to create some groups, and there's these 5 folks I'm going to go work with. Let's let the group help you coordinate, at least that way. And if you want to have this conversation again later this week, let me know. We'll start it up again. It seems to be some interest. But in the meantime, take care of each other. Be safe. Don't lose your ass chasing something you don't know how to go get. But if you go get it, good luck to you, man. I hope we see a lot of rebels over there doing some good work, making some good money, and everyone wins. Everyone wins. So we will see you later.